Hello, good morning, everybody. I hope you're still doing well. So today is really kind of the first day that we've been officially approved to upload our own material as opposed to sending you guys links to just like Newsella or BrainPop. So yay! So the activity for today is really meant to give you the context, so the historical circumstance of World War II. And so far in depth, we've really discussed the Great Depression, and we talked about how the Great Depression specifically affected America. But hopefully, most of you remember that the Great Depression didn't just affect America, it actually affected countries all over the world. So this is what we started to look at right before our school closure occurred. So some of you might remember starting the video in class. Some classes got further than other classes. Some of you were absent. So I just want to make sure before we really get going into the causes of World War II on Monday that you have a better idea of what was happening to the countries in Europe during the 1920s and 1930s, which is kind of like the Roaring 20s in the United States and then the Great Depression in the United States. So at the same time, I'm also going to help you kind of navigate through this new format of Google Slides, since this is really the first time that we've had an assignment that looks like this. So first things first. Our objective for today, so our topic is Europe during the 1920s and the 1930s, and our objective is I can explain how the worldwide economic depression led to dictators in Europe and identify the leaders and alliances of World War II. So the second slide that you'll see on your screen is going to be a map, and it's showing a lot of the different alliances and the countries that were part of them during World War II. So just like in World War I, there were alliances or groups of countries that were working together in case of, well, actually, it wasn't in case of an attack. In this case, it was actually because of an attack. So you can see here that the countries in yellow are going to represent what are known as the Allied powers, which is going to be the same name that we used in World War I. And if you look really tiny here, we have some of those red countries, and those countries are going to be called the Axis powers. So this is a different name for the alliance than we had in World War I. It used to be the Central Powers, and a couple of those countries have changed, but Germany is still part of the Axis powers. So just to give you an idea that where we're talking about today is in Europe. So it's in this part, for the most part, this part of the world, as well as Japan, which is an island right here in the Pacific Ocean. All right, so the next slide is going to show you to click this link. So if you see here, you click on the link and it's going to bring up the document that would be the text that you would be reading for this assignment. So if you click on the assignment, it'll pull it up in the Google Docs for you. And you'll see here that the directions say to highlight at least 4 sentences that support the claim there were problems in many countries around the world in the 1920s and 1930s. So as you are reading through this text, you're going to be underlining again at least, or highlighting at least 4 sentences. So this is essentially the same thing that we would do in class where we would underline our text, but obviously it's going to be a little bit different on the computers. So I'm going to show you how to highlight on a computer, and I'm also going to show you how to highlight on a smartphone for the few of you who might still be using those. All right, so it's nice and easy on the computer. If you want to highlight something, you're going to just hold down your cursor so that you're basically doing like a copy paste. And if you come up here, you'll see right next to the font color, you have the highlight color. So you can highlight in colors that you would like, but please make sure that you're choosing a color so I can actually see the words. So for example, yellow is probably one of the better ones to use. But if you would prefer to use like a green or something, that's fine too. Just make sure that it's something I'd be able to see the highlight itself as well as the words behind it. If I have to go in and try and figure out what you had highlighted because I can't see it, I'm not going to give you the credit for it. All right, so for those of you who are using smartphones, it's basically the same. So here would be, the article, so you can see it. All right, the article is not going to format exactly the same as it would on the computer. So it does look a little bit wonky with all of the pictures and stuff. You can still access it, you can still read it. It's just not going to be quite as user-friendly. So for the smartphone, if you need to highlight, so you would essentially do the same thing. You're going to click on a sentence like you're going to copy and paste it. Okay. And then if you notice, so you can, if you would prefer, just change the font color as long as it's something that I can read. So you would want to do, oh goodness, you'd want to do like red font or even blue font. Again, it's not quite as user-friendly on the phone, but just changing the color of the writing would be fine if you're on a cell phone. There is a way to actually do, there we go. So if you see at the top, I get this little toolbar at the top. If you select the button that has the letter A with like the little dashes next to it, so if you hit that, that's going to give you this list here at the bottom. And you can come down to where it says highlight color, and then you could do the same thing where you're highlighting it, and then that would actually be the highlighting. So again, to highlight would be this letter A with the little lines next to it, which gives you the menu at the bottom. But as I said, if that's too difficult and you want to just change the font color, as long as I can read it, that's fine. Just make sure you, again, pick out a color that I'm able to see and it's able to be easily distinguishable between the black. So either blue or red would probably be best if you're changing the font color. All right, so with that said, after you go ahead and read through the entire text and do your highlighting, then you're going to be moving on to your next Google slide.